Hi Virgo, this is Mimi with Divination by Mimi. Welcome to your September 15th through the 31st, 2018 tarot reading with a little bit of astrology and then oracle guidance if necessary. You are a mutable earth sign and you're ruled by Mercury. You share the Mercury polarity and the mutable polarity with Gemini. It means that, and your motto is I analyze. So obviously you're a thinker. Ruling planet Mercury, definitely about thinking and communication. And I analyze certainly the motto of Virgo. You're about integration, kind of defining you from someone else. The body. You're also about the occupation in the world, how you make your money in the world, what's it like, not necessarily the 10th house where it's about your reputation and your huge career, but really more about how you earn your money. Okay, and that is the 6th house, which is again also about the body, the physical body, so health or lack thereof, very important for you. There's some interesting aspects. Your ruling planet Mercury will be making, by this time, making its way from Sagittarius into Capricorn, along with 6 other planets of import. So Capricorn, the 10th house, ruled by Saturn, is very much about, structure, authority, law and order, status quo, and power in a sense. It's the 10th house, which has to do kind of with the cosmic father. And Saturn is kind of the dad, but he's a strict dad. And he's restrictive. So with all of these planets, and he's about authority, right? So all of these planets in that sign, that restrictive, three-dimensional Malkuth, Geb, gravity, leaden nature of Saturn is affecting all of these planets, including Mercury. So Mercury's not really happy in the 10th house or around Saturn for that matter. It slows him down, it restricts him, and Mercury doesn't like that. Anything that restricts your ability to think and analyze is not something. So you might feel a little bit foggy and maybe a little bit tired. Okay, but that's okay. Take care of yourself. Remember the body. It's important that you take care of the body and your health. But some other things are occurring in there that, that are going to move things along in other directions. So in the 10th house at this time, not only do we have the ruler Saturn, but we also have Pluto, Lord of the Underworld. So we have 2 male archetypes. Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, is about power, sex, and death. Saturn is about restriction, rules, and law. Then you have 2 female archetypes. You've got Venus, the beautiful goddess of love and money and sensuality. And then you've got Black Moon Lilith, the female archetype of the suppressed feminine, the scapegoated feminine. We also have Mercury, your ruling planet, is in there. And then we have the sun and the moon forming a new moon. So I'm sure you've already figured this out, Virgo, as you do analyze. But the new moon basically is a gestation period, and it results in the Earth casting a shadow as it obscures the light of the sun from reflecting off of the moon. Therefore, the moon is dark, the new moon. It's a time of gestation. It's a time of planting seeds of intention for things that you want. So a great time to set your goals and then feed them with thought, word, and deed, right, as the next 2 weeks and beyond go, so that you can grow that seed into whatever fruit you'd like to see. Now, with this new moon, however, with all of those planets, all of that energy in the 10th house of authority, it's making an interesting aspect called a square. A square is a non-harmonious, irritant aspect. It's an impetus to change, which is great. Change is always important and it's inevitable anyway, right? But this definitely causes change because very much like the grain of sand inside the shell of an oyster creates the pearl, i.e. change, so does this aspect with Uranus. So Uranus is the rebel planet. It rules Aquarius. It's about activism, revolution, collectivism, but it's also about progress, technological progress, things to do with electricity, and it's about unexpected change. But it's definitely rebellion, and that's what I'm getting keyed up with here. When it makes this square with the new moon, which is a powerful, fertile energy and aspect, in the 10th house of authority, you might personally feel an instinct to square off with authority, with a figure of authority. So you might get in an argument with your boss, or your parents, or the landlord, or a cop, or a judge, or I think you're getting what I'm saying here, that the instinct might be there to fight. Now, as with everything, and as an analyzer and a thinker, I know that what you'll do is you'll take this advice and you'll stop and try to look at it from a bird's eye view. You employ both hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right brain, use the intuition, but also use that rationale that you're used to using, that logic that you're used to using, to determine if it's worth the impasse, if it's worth sparring. If it's not worth sparring, walk away, and, you know, forewarned is forearmed. You can walk away saying, "Phew, I avoided an argument." If after that analysis you still find that sparring is something that really needs to happen, you're at an impasse, then do it. The energy will be there. Just be forewarned. With that, there's always every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So, you know, you're aware of that. Now, that's on a personal level. We might see this manifest itself on a collective level, perhaps with, I don't know, say protesters or activists butting heads with police, or their governments. I mean, you might see more activist activity to stand up against authority figures or status quo institutions that have been in existence for a while, like a court system or the government or the police or what have you. It tends to be sort of standoffs with police and that type of figure of authority, because Uranus is definitely the activist, the collective activist. But we'll definitely see how it plays out. I think you have an idea of how the energy works. So that's the new moon and the aspects around it. Let's see, Mercury, I told you, I think is in Sagittarius, but by this time we'll be in Capricorn along with 6 other planets. And then lastly, there is a second full moon this month, a second full super moon with an eclipse. It's a blue moon, and that's going to occur in Leo. So a lot of activity this month. You know, Uranus being direct and making its move in that fiery first house of I am, of Aries, is definitely going to have an impact on all of us. And energy will be felt regardless, especially with that new moon square. So see how it plays out for you. Now let's get into your reading. I'm going to be doing a 4-card pull with the Morgan Greer Tarot, which is a Rider-Waite-Smith based tarot. The 4-card pull is based upon the first card being a situation that you're in, maybe feelings that you're having, emotions, relationships, work, something like that, something you're sitting in at the moment that's you're ruminating on. The second card is the positive aspects to that, excuse me. The third card is the negative aspects to that, and then the fourth and final card would be any overall advice that Spirit chooses to relay on the subject. Let's get into it for Virgo, mutable earth, ruled by Mercury. Motto is I analyze, for January 15th through the 31st, 2018. What's going on with Virgo? January 15th through the 31st, 2018. What's going on with Virgo? January 15th through the 31st, 2018. Holy Hecate, cosmic soul, mother, creatrix of the universe, Titaness. What does Virgo need to know for January 15th? Thank you. Wow, he's getting pages in reverse. Something's not coming through for you. You're waiting on a message or you're waiting on an idea. Positive aspects. There is an end to some kind of strife or fight that you've been in. Negative aspects. Something is holding you back or keeping you from getting the new idea. It looks like it might be the happy home. I think you had something similar not this past fortnight, but like last month. Like family or home life was standing in the way. Okay, so you're sitting here, it's a lack of an idea, a lack of a message, a lack of a communication. And the positive aspect of this lack of communication is that there's no fighting. The negative aspect of it is it might be affecting your family. So this could be no communication from a family member. And the overall advice is the Justice in reverse. Now, I might need clarification on this. This could be a Libra on the low octave. But because it's major arcana, I think it has something to do with you or someone that you're close with here as it relates to this message that's not forthcoming or idea that's not forthcoming. It looks as though someone might have been put in, like a loved one might have been put in jail, is incarcerated at the moment. It's someone that you care about, but because that they've been incarcerated, there's a lot more peace in your life. The fighting, this is the positive aspect of it, the fighting has ceased. The negative aspect is this is a loved one. This has something to do with your happy family, your happy home. And with the Justice in reverse, again, this is not for everyone. This feels rather specific. It would appear that they might not win a case. It could also have something to do, if it's not to do with a loved one being incarcerated, it could also have something to do, and that could be a child, that could be a partner, an intimate partner, a parent, or some other loved one, a close person to you. This could also be waiting to hear from an adoption agency or trying to get, you may be trying to get custody of a child. And it looks as though the process has been very, very delayed. The positive aspect is that there's not fighting apparently with someone. Actually, I need clarification on the positive aspect here. What does this 5 of Wands in reverse mean for positive aspect? That's too many. I'm going to pull from these. There's quite a few. What does this 5 of Wands in reverse mean for positive aspect for Virgo? Thank you. You've got the Devil card in reverse, which is the releasing of some two major arcana here, the Justice in reverse and the Devil in reverse. The releasing of some addictive behavior, an ultimate victory. It feels as though a loved one's been incarcerated for an addictive behavior like drugs. And there's been some delay in justice. Ultimately, there will be victory for the person, but it might involve some time because, one, of the delay, but two, because of the need to get clean. They need some time inside to really start to get clean, whether that's actually inside incarcerated as in a prison or and being forced into rehab in some capacity. The reason the fighting is stopped is because this loved one is incarcerated to a certain extent, and as they're waiting, and I think the key here with this Justice is what is going to happen in terms of whether they go into rehab or they go to jail as a result of whatever arrest that's occurred. The reason it's showing up as positive is two things. There will be a victory, meaning they will overcome the addiction, which makes me think that they will be, whether it's rehab or jail, it will be a victory. They will begin the process of recovery. Okay? They will actually get some clean time in and they will start the recovery process. That's the victory. That's the victory in the lack of fighting and the lack of having them in the house while they're actively using. Okay? All right? So that's good. And that may be as a result of the delay. So because it says victory, again, I don't know whether it's going to be jail or whether it's going to be rehab, but either way, they get clean and they start the recovery process. This is victory. This is positive, right? This is the end of fighting for you with them, strife with them while they're in your presence. Because they're out of your presence. They've always been out of your control anyway, but they're like literally out of your proximity. You're waiting to hear You're ready to get a message from this judge, this figure, as it relates to this person, this loved one, being either incarcerated or going into prison, whether they're going into prison or whether they're going into rehab. Whichever happens is good. Whether it's prison, nobody wants to do prison. Prison is not great, I know. Rehab would be better. But either way, they're on the road to a recovery. They're on their way to clean time. So whether it is either one will be a victory for you and for them. And you need the break. So try not to stress over not getting the results of whether from the judge or from the courts as to whether it is going to be rehab or whether it's going to be jail time. Because firstly, it's out of your hands. So as a loved one of someone with an addiction, you know that you can only control what you do. So firstly, that they're out of the house, however they're incarcerated at the moment, is good for you and for them because they're getting clean time in. Do not stress over the fact of whether you're hearing from them or not, the judge, or the courts, because the outcome is going to be the same. Clean time, victory. But you've got to take care of yourself. Love and family is always there. You're not abandoning them. I think there's a guilt here for you. You're not abandoning them. Let them get the help that they need. Let them take their path. You take your path. Both of you will start to heal. And I wish you the best of luck. All right, Virgo. Addiction's a tricky thing. If you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below the video. If you would like a personal reading, please feel free to email me at mimimemes@hotmail.com. That email address is in the description box below the video. Please subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you part of the soul family. If you have booked a reading, thank you for that. I really appreciate you inviting me into your life so that we can work out whatever milestones you're reaching in your life. Other than that, if I don't hear from you individually, I will see you for the 2 remaining lunations for January. And then I'll see you next month for your astrological readings. You take care, Virgo.